So you're probably wondering why I have a lemon here, and we've got a needle driver, a pickup, and a suture. Well, today we're actually going to use the lemon as a specimen where we can place a suture and then talk about the 5 things that medical students get wrong when they do knot tying in the operating room. We're going to dive in and talk about how to improve this and how to solve those problems, and make sure you wait till the last one, because number 5 is something that everyone actually misses. Let's get started. So we're going to place a stitch through the lemon skin all the way through, and we're going to pick it up. This is a monofilament permanent suture, and it is called Proline. You can see it's dyed. And so the first mistake that students actually have when they go to the OR and actually do knot tying is they forget that most of the time we're in the operating room, there's actually a needle on one end. And so they practice with one hand or two hand ties with just free ties. And that basically causes them to get confused when there's a needle on one end of the suture, and then they have a hard time trying to figure it out. And the worst thing that they can do is actually tie with a needle in place. So if you do tie with a needle in place, you could see I'm having a hard time here because we have a needle on one side and very long suture. During this point, you could actually injure yourself by getting a needle stick injury from the free floating needle, which is moving. The best way to do this is protect your needle if you are going to be tying, or you could leave it free floating. And number 2 is don't use it as the one that is actually moving. You have to make this one as your static. So what do I mean? Let's do that again. Okay, so when we change it to the needle being the one that's static, the one that's going to be moving is going to be the right hand, and the left hand is going to be static. So then you can throw knots without a needle in place. And so when you do that, you can throw it that way. Okay, so what is number 2? Well, number 2, let's actually bring this out again. Number 2 is the tail. People can often use a very long tail or a very short tail. And what happens? When you have a very long tail, then your hands start to have issues tying because there's so much suture, and then it becomes more awkward. When can having a long tail be useful? Well, when you're tying deep in a crevice such as the pelvis, you would be throwing your knots way out and then sliding it downward. If the tail is very short, then let's say this is like super short. I can't barely move any of my fingers and it looks super awkward. See? And so you just have to get it right. Well, what is just right? To every person, that may vary, but for me, you could see all my fingers, and then there's going to be a little bit more so that I just have enough so that when I move the suture here, I can actually throw it down there. And so we can slide the knot. Okay, so that is number 2. What is the third one? If you noticed, I've been tying sutures and they were not flat. What does flat mean? Well, if you cross your hands, the suture would then lay flat like that. And that's how it should lay. Because if it's not flat, it doesn't lay pretty well on the tissue. So you have to cross your hands. Right there. And so if you cross your hands, that is how it would look like. And so if we do this, we throw our next suture. Right there. Tie is going up and cross our hands. Sorry, the lemon is moving. And so by crossing your hands, then that actually helps with allowing the knot to lay flat. So the next problem is we talked about ensuring which hand actually holds the needle. Number 2, making sure that we do have enough length of your tail. Number 3 is crossing your hands when you're laying the loop. Number 4 is making sure that there is tension on the hand that is not moving. If you don't have any tension, it basically, let's say, will hold it way further out. And so when you have this one and then you're trying to tie, and then you could see there's no tension, it's really hard to get the needle or get the tail to move around the suture. And so by maintaining the tension, ensuring that you have your tail there, then we can actually move easily. And then we can do this and lay our suture flat by crossing our hands. There we go. The 5th important thing is actually to practice with knot tying wearing gloves. Because most people get confused because they don't have the tactile feel when they when they start wearing gloves, especially if you start wearing double gloves, which we do recommend in any operation to prevent risk of any contamination and also protects yourself. So when they lose the tactile feel, then they start having a harder time throwing knots properly. Make sure to practice the 5 tips to improve your knot tying skills in the operating room. If you liked the video, please click the like and subscribe button and then check out the other videos that we have, and we'll see you next time.